Therefore, the question is as follows, that this House do now adjourn.
Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to rise in the House, now on the opposition side, and I am asking the question to the government. Normally, it was for the last 10 years the other way around, but, as the election results show, it's turned around. And let me at this time congratulate the member from Burlington for her victory to the House of Commons, as well as to her position as Parliamentary Secretary for International Development, a position I held before we changed positions out here. Mr. Speaker, the question that I had asked the Minister was to do with international development, international response to the Syrian refugees, where we all know the situation is pretty dire, and we have seen massive amount of Syrians running, taking those dangerous risks across Europe to try to get away from the war ravages, Mr. Speaker. But that is very small answer to a bigger problem in that region, Mr. Speaker. During my tenure as Parliamentary Secretary for Foreign Affairs, I had the honor to visit, I can't say the honor, but the misfortune of visiting these refugee camps where we saw refugees running from the war, staying both in Turkey, in Jordan, now in Lebanon, and now Mr. Speaker, of course, while we are looking forward for this peace the talks that are going to go very soon, hopefully comes to a resolution to the Syrian conflict and people in Syria can go back from the refugee camps. Mr. Speaker, the larger issue is that these people who are living in the camps, Mr. Speaker, need assistance from the world community. And Canada is one of the leading countries in providing these kind of assistance in the past. Our government had just announced over $100 million to give to the refugees just before during the election campaign, as well as matching funds. And I noticed that the Liberals government carried on with that program, which is a good thing to do. But, Mr. Speaker, on a larger scheme of things, they have not addressed on a long-term solution what are they going to do and how are they going to assist the refugees in the camp in Syria, which is my question. I mean, they have made the announcements, they're carrying on, they asked for matching funds from Canadians to help them. And Canadians, as they have shown in opening up the doors for the refugees, they are very, very concerned about it and are willing to provide assistance. What my concern is that I do not see any effort, publicity or anything on the part of the government to address this issue. So perhaps the Parliamentary Secretary can tell us what her government is doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Development and La Francophonie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member across the way for his congratulations and extend my own congratulations on his re-election. It is with enormous privilege and honour that I rise for the first time in the House, and I would like to take the opportunity to thank the people of Burlington for bestowing me with the responsibility to be their voice. Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for his question and our shared concern for the people of the region. However, the question posed is based on a false premise. As he is well aware, Canada's contribution has been and will remain significant in the fight against ISIL. Our government is taking a multifaceted and integrated approach to dealing with the crisis to ensure that Canada's response has the greatest possible impact for people in the region. As he is also aware, our government is committed to reviewing our engagement to date in the region and looking at ways of addressing the serious needs there in a comprehensive and effective manner. We are undertaking that review at the present time. Canada remains committed to the fight against ISIL and the protection of individuals in the camps. Canada's refocused engagement will strategically target areas where Canada's involvement can make a difference, leverage Canadian expertise, and complement the efforts of our partners, including through the training of local forces. As I said at the onset, Mr. Speaker, our work countering ISIL is only one part of our efforts to help address the serious crises in Syria, Iraq, and the region today. It is true that military and security efforts are vital to secure victory over those who are destabilizing the region and terrorizing local populations, but they are not sufficient to secure a lasting peace for the people of Syria or Iraq. We must not lose sight of the fact that the solution to the crises in the region are first and foremost political, and that humanitarian and development needs are growing. Our government has clearly indicated that it is ready to do more on the world stage. We are also committed to supporting countries and communities in the region who have so generously welcomed millions of refugees and displaced persons. To date, Canada has contributed over $960 million in humanitarian, development, and security assistance in response to this crisis. Over $650 million has been committed to provide life-saving humanitarian assistance on the ground. We are currently among the top 10 humanitarian donors in the region and are providing vital assistance such as food, water, shelter, health and protection services to millions of conflict-affected people. Furthermore, Mr. Speaker, once areas have been stabilized and the most immediate humanitarian needs have been met, there is need for long-term support to strengthen the population's capacity to rebuild their lives, infrastructure, and institutions. Without that long-term commitment, there is a far greater risk of yet more destabilization in the future, and even the potential for states to fail completely, with all the human, political, and security costs that entails. Canada cannot stand by and let that happen. And of course, Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of the difference we are making in the lives of thousands of Syrians and Canadians by welcoming 25,000 refugees to this country. We all share in this pride. I would conclude, Mr. Speaker, by noting that all of these efforts together are part of Canada's comprehensive investment in a future for the Middle East region that is more secure, stable, and resilient. Thank you.
Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Mr. Speaker, again, this feel-good statement that are coming from the Liberals. Let me just quote what the Defence Minister said today in the question period. He said our engagement going on over there, which was approved by this Parliament, was in a mess. What does he mean by it is a mess? It is an insult to our officers who are out there flying the C-18, CF aircraft, as well as our trainers that are out there training the Peshmergas out there, Mr. Speaker. Under this government, under my government, Mr. Speaker, we had a robust fighting head-on with ISO, Mr. Speaker. It is that government that has now created the doubt where even our own allies are saying, leave the aircraft over there, Mr. Speaker, to fight this thing, because they had been successful. So to say that it is a mess, as the Defence Minister said, is, Mr. Speaker, a gross insult to the Canadians who are already out there, Mr. Speaker. That is what they should be addressing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity to perhaps correct the record, because I believe it was actually the immigration minister who said the immigration system is in a mess because of the record of the government, the previous government on the other side of this House, and was not the Minister of Defence. However, as I noted earlier, Mr. Speaker, I would like to emphasize that Canada is examining all of its efforts in the region at this time in order to ensure our interventions are well placed to address the security, humanitarian, and development needs on the ground. We will ensure that our engagement is strategically targeted and well-designed, not only to fight ISIL, but also to address immediate threats to life, bolster regional stability, and strengthen local communities and governments. This coordinated effort will help provide the people of the region with a better chance to reconstruct their shattered communities and thrive in a more prosperous future. Thank you.
Alors, la motion importante que la Chambre s'adjourne est maintenant adoptée.
The motion is deemed adopted. The House stands adjourned until tomorrow at 2 p.m. pursuant to Standing Order 24-1.